I'd like to bring up our first speaker, Robert Bornhofen, Director of Innovation at DC Water, and Dolly from DC Water. Please welcome to the stage.
Hey, welcome to DC Water. We're delighted to have you here. The water sector is different, though. I remember Dolly Gata. She's a graduate student at George Washington University. She's also an architect. Her baccalaureate's in architecture, and she's done architectural work in India. So when we were looking at our summer intern class, we had like 35 summer interns from the nearby universities. All he had to do was share with Dolly our environmental, social governance ESG report that talked about what we're doing in the water sector to keep the water cleaner. This building, for example, one of the trivia questions we're using the therms, the BTUs, the energy in the sewer pipes below this building to heat and air condition the building. Okay, we're using a lot of renewable energy, but this is one of the most coolest industries around, and that being the water utility, wastewater treatment facility industry. So, but we're attracting a lot of young people. Gen Zs, and what's the other one? Gen something. There's so many different letters, but to be able to work and apply their skills for the good of society. And this is the best job that I've ever had in a nonprofit industry where we're tasked with keeping things clean, safe, and reliable. So anyways, that's my little opening here on DC Water. But this Saturday is the commissioning of one of our deep tunnels, okay? This river is the Anacostia River, okay? And of course, the Potomac is the other one that it connects to for you out-of-town people. Back in 1966, President Johnson said, if you fell into the Potomac, you better get a tetanus shot, okay? I heard that President Harrison back in the day, he's known for having the shortest tenure ever as a president. And history notes that he, at the inauguration, didn't bundle up very well and got pneumonia. But I also, AJ, his historian, told me that there's another theory that said that he drank some of the river water. This is like the 1830s, okay? And got E. coli and he died from that. So that could have been what happened. But this river is remarkably much cleaner than 2 years ago. When I first got here, we had trash coming down the river. And I'll be really brief here. What we have here with the older cities, we laid down sewer pipes back in the day for just sewer, right? And it worked great. But then we started putting in concrete and rain gutters and storm drains. And every time it rained, everything went into the same sewer pipe. These were combined sewer pipes. And we had overflows that when they got to a certain point beyond our capacity, they had outflows into the river. Okay. And into the river went sewage, and rainwater. It was mixed. So with this deep water, this deep tunneling system, 18 miles of tunnels, about 120 feet deep, about a 36-foot diameter, sometimes 48, but it's quite big. We store 157 million gallons of excess wastewater and rainwater during heavy storms. And so the river is getting remarkably much cleaner. And then we're going to start next with the Potomac River. We got 5 more miles to go, and we're going to have both rivers clean. But you'll be probably seeing swimming back in the Potomac River within a year, 18 months. So it's amazing. And to be here during this time and see the changes in quick order is just fascinating for us. So anyways, so I started off with slides on crowdsourcing. And I was told, no, they all want to hear about innovation. So I said, okay, Lizzie's hiding back there. So a little bit about DC Water, okay? Nation's capital, obviously. We've got about 70 square miles, okay? 700, we can read this faster than I can say it. But we have a lot of visibility with the home of EPA, for example, in the government. We get a lot of regulatory oversight, a lot of attention. But like most organizations, we have challenges, hence the need to innovate, hence the need to use IdeaScale to be able to source the crowd for ideas as to how we can address these challenges. And I could say the first one, aging infrastructure, IdeaScale was helpful. We came up with some ideas to be able to detect where water mains were leaking using artificial intelligence. I'll get to that. Also sewers as well, and preventing the overflows. But these are the challenges we have. It's the infrastructure, balancing budgets during high inflation. The cost of energy went up almost 50% this past year. Chemicals went up a lot. And so when you have a fixed budget, that really it's difficult to be able to balance everything. Climate change, of course, we're getting more storms. We're getting droughts, storms, rains. This has been a really dry summer for us, but when it rains, it really rains. And so there's something going on here with the climate. So we're taking measures. We're building our 500-year wall, for storms. We're doing a lot with our resilience efforts, looking at renewable fuels and so on. And of course, as the price goes up for treating wastewater, so do the rates. And so we have to make sure it's affordable to our low-income customers. So it's not an easy job. Okay. All right. So I wanted just a little bit of background here. Okay. Now I'm going to shift into the innovation mode. Tim mentioned that innovation essentially is solving the right problems. There's so many problems. What are the right problems that matter? And then how do we go about solving those problems? It kind of begins with problem. What can we do about the problem? What are some ideas? Okay. And then how do we know which ideas are the best ideas and so on? So we've been doing that since, before the Civil War. But what we're known for a lot is our wastewater treatment facility, where we treat the wastewater, okay? That's our Blue Plains facility, okay? And we've got some really smart scientists in that area. But what we didn't have across the whole enterprise, because we have water, we've got sewer, we've got fleet, we've got the back, all these other business units, we didn't really do any innovation in that area, okay? We just focused on one little area. So we decided, our current CEO, David Gaddis, decided that we need to kind of open up the aperture and do problem solving for the whole organization. And that's what we're using IdeaScale for. And that's pretty much the primary purpose here, is to be able to leverage our smart people, both within the organization and outside, to come up with what we think are the best ideas to solve our problems. All right. So a little bit, again, I'm talking innovation, not crowdsourcing, but it's hard not to talk about the two interchangeably. But this is really my experience. I'm not a water person. I'm not an engineer. I've been helping organizations solve problems for 20 years. Different industries, different companies. This is by far the most interesting, but this is a blue collar industry, more or less. These are the guys that tend to be guys, mostly male, but these are the guys out, the crews that go out in the trucks, down the sewers, looking at the water pipes, adjusting valves, doing fire hydrant tests. This is really blue collar. It's about pay. It's about the group they're with, and about doing the job and going home. Okay. They've never really been asked what they think we should do about problems, or what is the problem that you're having out in the field that we're not aware of. And so it's been challenging to kind of break through and have those dialogues, and we're making progress on that. But we really start with our where we want to be in 5 years. Whether it's your mission, your vision, where do you want to be? Okay. What are your goals, your strategy? And that's what we have 5 different pillars, starting off with a reliable operation, a sustainable operation, okay, a resilient operation, We talk about our employees, okay? We talk about training, okay? We talk about affordability, but we've got specific areas that we're looking at to align what we're doing to where we want to be. We look at innovation as an enabler to get there, as one enabler, okay? So when we look at reliability, for example, we're looking at problems that are not making us reliable enough, and what can we do to address those problems? So that's what we align to always. Every business case shows the alignment to one or two strategic areas. Having a credible innovation program, okay? Not a part-time person on a checkbox saying we have innovation, but having dedicated people, having dotted line volunteers, ambassadors, if you will, maybe a community of practice, but it's a concerted effort. It's with tools like a crowdsourcing tool, it's processes, it's roles, but it's a bona fide innovation program. And then finally, this has been a challenge, but risk, an appetite for risk. Okay, knowing that we've not done this before, but can we manage the risk? Do we know how to mitigate what can go wrong? Okay, so there needs to be an appetite for that, and that's why we start off small. We might do a prototype, we might do a pilot, we might see a demonstration, just to get our feel for it. Okay, so a little bit of time, a little bit of effort without going head first. So again, these are three important things: a way to navigate how you get there, a credible program to get there, and then tolerance for some uncertainty, and then being able to build up your competency to be able to manage those risks and actually do things that you've never done before, but you can do. Oh, too far back. All right, Dolly. Okay, I'm gonna take a break.
Thank you, Robert. So innovation, here we all are talking about problems, challenges. So the whole process of innovation starts with problem. We first, if there is a problem, then we start looking for solutions. And yeah, through solutions, it can be like your sources could be your own employees, your vendors, or any tag events. That is the whole process. And as and soon we go through it, we start filtering those ideas. And after filtering the one with deemed potential to address the problem, we go for the approval of that particular problem, of that particular idea. So for me, when I started my summer internship, my first experience with crowdsourcing, not exactly crowdsourcing, but innovation, was like we had a problem to inspect our large diameter water sewer pipes. And that was a problem. And we were looking for a solution. And then we found an idea, like there was already a solution outside. That was a sewer scout. And it helped that we went through a demonstration. That was a pilot project. And we are in the process of understanding it. So yes, this is the whole process. And this is how it also gives us an opportunity to generate a new value.
Let me add one thing though. So great example. So this Sewer Scout device, I came across that last February at a water conference. It's a relatively new product. I'm not promoting that, but I'm promoting risk. Okay. It's not widely used. Okay. It's being used in Cincinnati, one utility in the country. And so to innovate, be able to convince some of the key stakeholders that this is something that we think we can look at and prototype. And we had them out here this summer. And what's neat about this is that it's a 3D camera. Okay, it does a 360 review or view area. It can zoom, but it floats down the sewer pipes. And it can look for certain things. It can look for corrosion, for example. Hydrogen sulfide can cause corrosion, and the corrosion eats away at the sewer pipes. Okay, they can collapse. They can look at they can see tree intrusions, branches coming in. They can look at cracks. But this is something we've never done before. This is technology. Whereas and this is also, there's a lot of artificial intelligence in this as well. But again, this is an example of starting off with oh, there we are. Is that you, Laura? Okay. Okay. All right. So, wow, this is great. So I think, let's see, is it up here? No, that's something. No, that's not up here. But we're doing a number of things. But I'm gonna talk to you now. I'm gonna shift gears into back to innovation, back to some cool things that we're doing right now with I'll call it transformative type technologies. And on the left, this is different though. This is a we use like a tractor. And it's attached to a cord and it kind of goes down along the sewer pipe. Along the way, it's taking video. Okay, we developed some software with a partner, and we put a patent on that, and it's called oh, what is that thing called? What is that? Okay, it'll come to me. So, but it goes down. It looks at the video, captures the video. It digitizes the video and goes against a database of known images like that and comes back and tells us what's there. Okay, and that is, again, you can see it's the cracks, tree root intrusions, corrosion. That's what's being done on that device. Okay. We're using another tool. Again, these are all, what's interesting about this industry is that there's like 50,000 utilities, water, sewer utilities, a lot of small ones, small cities, large ones like DC Water. But there's a lot of utilities, and they all have pretty much the same problems. You know, we've got infrastructure issues. We can't find leaks. We want to make sure the sewer pipes are in order. And so we find a lot of solutions already out there. We don't have to invent them here. Now, this one we invented. We teamed up with Wipro, and it was called Pipe Sleuth, is what we call it. Okay, but these other two are commercial products. The middle one is Fido. It's out of the UK. It's being used at a number of utilities, and that we use it's like the shape of a hockey puck, and you put that on both ends of a water main, a main water pipe, and it listens to within the water pipe. Everything is within a certain frequency range. You know, so a water burst or a drip would have a certain frequency versus a jackhammer versus a siren, and it picks up within that known frequency for water, picks up those leaks, okay, captures a location, goes against its database of known signatures of that type of sound, comes back with the prediction. It will allow us to, and we've prototyped this, it's worked well. We can pinpoint the location within a meter of where the leak is. We can size the leak, whether it's a gusher or just a little trickle. And yeah, it's size and location. So now we get a backhoe, we can go in there, we can dig up where that leak is, and we can repair it without ripping up the whole street. Okay. So that's a game changer for us. It really is transformative. In the old days, they walked around with a listening stick, or they had loggers, but this allows us to pinpoint the location and size it. Okay. We're interested in the large leaks. Okay. Our infrastructure, the average water pipe is about 80 years old. 80. That's long. That's a long time for a water pipe. And so we're losing a lot of water. And we're going to use this device to be able to identify and plug up those holes. The third one is, again, these areas are outside of our wastewater treatment area. So these are new areas that my program is focused on, is looking across the enterprise. We have a lot of during the sewer pipes get clogged. Okay, there's branches down there. We got fat, oil, and grease. It slows the flow, and the flow, when it gets obstructed, it starts to go up, and then the sewer pipes, the manhole covers, we have an overflow. Also, we get backups. The houses, they've got lateral pipes that empty their sewage into the water pipe. That backs up, goes into people's basements. Okay. So that's not a good thing. We had some really severe problems back in 2020. And so this device here, as you can see, the manhole cover is up on top. This ultrasonic device hangs down. right above the flow of the sewer, and it can use that technology to determine the level of the sewer and the flow. Okay. When the level gets above a certain point, it sends a communication to us. We know that there's a problem at this particular sewer manhole. We go out there with a big vacuum truck and we kind of suck out the what's obstructing it. Okay. We've eliminated overflows. Okay. We don't have any more. I mean, if they do happen, we don't have a device at that manhole cover. But again, we're using technology to solve problems that we've always had before. Okay, whether it be the water main leaks or the overflows in the sewers, or being able to detect problems within the sewers, and then we know where to go to fix the sewer pipes. Okay, this is innovation in our sector here. Okay. One more. So, but that's today. Here's tomorrow. Okay, Dolly, you know the GPT or the generative AI. You want to talk to that, please? Thanks. Yeah.
Yes. So my first project here as a summer intern was about understanding GPT-4. And as and when I understood, I had a discussion with Robert, and Robert was like, okay, now let's find a way how we can implement it at DC Water. So with generative AI, it comes with a lot of risk and like how an organization, can adopt an AI which will affect organization. So we started with our implementation. We found ways how we could use it at DC Water. Should I give that example of?
Yeah, go,
yes.
Please. Yeah.
So we started with recording our meetings. So the minutes of meeting which we get, we don't need anyone to sit and write. We can just have AI to do that for us. We started with that using GPT-4, and most of our board meetings, which are public meetings, got recorded, and we were able to convert and summarize them into minutes of meeting. And then with that, a lot of people showed interest. So he had conducted a lead and learn where almost 200 of employees were interested to know about GPT-4. And then we came up with a community of practitioners, community of AI practitioners, where about 45 of our employees, we all work together. We try to understand how we can use GPT-4 at DC Water. And with that, right now, we are also coming up with do's and don'ts policy for how we can use this AI at our organization without any problems.
But innovation is more than just technology, right? Okay. It's also about process. It's about risk. Okay. And there is risk with the way generative AI can be used. Okay. The information we get may not be 100% reliable. The queries that we make get part of the large learning model. Okay. So we have to be careful what we say. Everything we do is public record. So if there's ever a request, freedom of information request, and what we're doing, it's all subject to that. So imagine this: Dolly's sitting at her terminal, her laptop, and typing in a GPT-4 command that says something like, "Who else?" Let's see. What's better? Okay. Let's see. DC Water is interested in what other cities are doing to be able to prevent urban flooding. Okay. I'll use Singapore. It's a small city with a lot of people. What is Singapore, New York, Philadelphia, and Boston doing to be able to prevent urban flooding? Okay. So it's out there. DC Water is asking about what other utilities are doing, okay? We get back a response that says all these different things that we should be doing, okay? And we don't do 2 or 3 of those. We get an urban flood and something bad happens. So it's public record. We were told, we did research, we were told what we could have done. We didn't do it, okay? So we're somewhat liable on this. So we have to be careful how we use the tool. It's all teachable, all coachable, but we just can't dive into it. So we're working right now with our legal counsel coming up with a set of best practices, looking at how we can audit the use of the tool, who gets the tool, the eligibility for the tool. But it's more than just the technology as you think it through. So that's the generative AI. But as Dolly mentioned, we had an amazing turnout, people interested in new technology. And we're using it. I mean, I love it. It's a fantastic tool, but it's you gotta be careful with it. We're looking at going from a more of a reactionary mode with problems, dealing with problems after they happen, to a more proactive approach. So we're using a lot of sensors. We have close to 50,000 sensors at our wastewater treatment facility. We measure almost everything. And when something goes wrong, we get alerted, okay? We're looking at taking that over into our water pipes and sewer pipes and other assets, being able to keep track of changes in water pressure, for example, okay? We call them transients. So a lot of pressure in a water pipe can stress the water pipe. Think of a balloon, you keep on blowing it up, it's gonna pop. Low pressure can also compromise the pipe and let in bacteria, boil water alerts. So we want to be able to use that data, use it smartly, and be able to anticipate and treat problems before they happen. So much more prescriptive here. So we're looking at doing much more with technology. We be able to build a digital twin or a virtual twin of our existing water pipes, and looking at how we can do it, depict it digitally, and do some what-if analyses. Start playing, what if we lose a pump station, for example? What's the impact? So we can start to look at, or a reservoir. We start to play with how that would be depicted digitally, so we can better prepare. We're using AI and algorithms to take a look at our water pipes, and looking at data that we have, historic data, current data, number of water main breaks, the type of soil. These algorithms are pretty involved, but we're using this information to be able to predict where within that network of pipes we're going to have problems next year. Okay, so it's a predictive way to be able to look at certain attributes and be able to use the model to tell us what we should be looking at to replace. Okay, so I mentioned soil type. The number of highs and lows, the transients, is also another indicator. The geography around that area, traffic. There's a number of variables that get factored into this algorithm. So we're using AI to predict what might happen. Okay, so these are three areas, and again, I keep on using the same footer here, but it's really about making an impact. Okay, we don't innovate for the sake of innovating. We want to be able to look at that strategic plan, those objectives. We want to make an impact in terms of getting closer to it, those goals. All right, here, I got it. Oh, yeah, this one. So I stayed late one night, just thinking of all the things that have gone wrong or could go wrong. Okay, and you probably recognize most of these. Okay, I've been through all of these, except I haven't been through the regulatory compliance issue yet, but everything else I've been through, okay, in varying degrees. This is what you have to think about. I talked about that appetite for risk, right? You need to kind of look at these, and that's the second one, the risk adversity, fear of the unknown, lack of trust, lack in our ability to manage these projects, okay? This deep tunnel system that I talked about early on, that's a 25-year program, $3 billion funded program. And it was amazing. But we thought we could manage this, and we did manage it, okay? If we hadn't done that, we'd still be polluting the river, okay? So we didn't have a choice. But these are things that can go wrong. I'm not gonna go through all 12 of these, but you can kind of get a feel for why this job is so both challenging and rewarding. to be able to work through this. But we got to make sure we've got the resources up front, the money, the people, the tools. We got to make sure we got key stakeholders behind us, supporting us, okay, with the staff. We need to make sure that we're communicating what we're doing. And we get out of this groupthink, this silo mentality, okay? Crowdsourcing is about busting up those silos, being able to work across the organization, okay? Not just one group. And so everyone has a chance or an opportunity to look at the problem and share what they think can be done. Okay. All right. And then that's fine, Laura. So again, depending upon the industry, well, most innovation projects fail. And when I say fail, I mean they're not disasters, but they fail to meet the full expectations. Okay, it might be partial, or it might be you get to a prototype stage and you say, no, it's not going to work. The technology is not reliable. Okay, there's a number of reasons, but they all don't work. And unlike IT, we have requirements and you code and you test it and you validate it. This is dealing with fuzzy concepts, dealing with technologies that you don't know for sure if they're going to work in your environment. Okay, you don't know if the people are going to take to it. The employees, they might reject it. There's a lot of unknowns that we have to test as we go along and validate. And if it doesn't map very well, we exit. We stop the project. Okay, but we try again and again, and some of these we get through, but it's not an easy task. Hence the appetite for risk. Laura, next slide. Okay. Oh, you got it, Dolly. Okay. And this is your slide, Dolly. Okay.
Yes. Right. So I have a question for all of you. Like, why do you think innovation fails? Like, any volunteers?
Risk first culture or staff.
Yes. So that is one of the reasons that most of the employees or like people are not comfortable with change. It gets difficult for them to adopt. They are reluctant to adopt new things. Any other? Yes, that is also one of the reasons. With that, adding to that, there are not even like when we put so we had launched a campaign. That was also my first time again with understanding what crowdsourcing is. And we launched a campaign about how 4th of July, like the campaign was about how one can celebrate 4th of July being sustainable. It was out there. We did receive ideas like how they can do it, but they were not a lot of them. So there were not enough of ideas for us to pick one great idea and say that, okay, they were able to get, we were able to find a solution to a new problem. That is one of, even with that, with relating it to not enough ideas, we end up selecting a wrong idea. Like it might not be appropriate to the situation and we might just come up and select a wrong idea and it will not help us with innovating.
You know, one of the benefits of crowdsourcing isn't just the ideas you get, it's the engagement, it's the employees, it's the culture, okay? And that's one of my key metrics is looking at how many employees have signed up with the tool. They have an IdeaScale account, and how many are participating, how many ideas, comments, but it's the people. And if you can get the people, get the employees caring enough to be able to participate in a challenge, that's a very positive sign. The more people you have participating, the more ideas you get, the more review you get, the more buy-in you get, okay? That to me is really, really important is the engagement piece, okay? The ideas follow, but you need to have a base of employees that's trending up, and that's how you sustain it over time as well. They show the interest and being able to recognize where the best ideas come from, okay? Recognize the individual, okay? I had a team here. This is the room for our board of directors meeting. I had a team here and they were recognized by our board members, okay? It didn't cost me a thing. but it meant so much to them to be recognized. So anyways, again, it's employee engagement, which is critical. Okay, all right, okay, thanks.
And again, most of our ideas come from employee engagement. So that is, they are the ones who are facing the real problem. But other than that, we have like technological partners, our vendors, then startups, some research that can also help us with coming up with good ideas.
I like the your upper right. You know, not all smart people work for us. How true that is. Okay, we have a lot of smart people at DC Water. We tend to think the same way. Okay, but doing it for 20 years, right? You bring in our summer interns, for example, a whole different viewpoint. Our vendors, our academia contacts, but again, it's that diversity of people, different experiences and roles. Okay, their training, they look at things differently, and I think that's the richness of being able to look at a variety of different sources for ideas. So, and that's how we bust these silos. Okay. So, and that's important for us at least, because we've got these separate silos that they don't really talk back and forth. The tool is overarching, and so it gets everyone on the same page. Next slide. That's yours. That's yours.
So why do we crowdsource at DC Water? Again, it's a lot of learning when we have facilities in different locations, and it helps to learn with when we don't get a chance to work with each other, but whenever there is any kind of problem, we get a chance to meet and learn from each other what they are doing at their site, at their problems. A lot of ideas. The more ideas we get, it is more likely to get a great idea. Also the culture here, which helps a lot of employee engagement. And again, it helps with a lot of learning. It is also the vision here, which we have to, it's important to know what is our main problem. And it is very important to solve the correct and right problem at that time. Yes. And change the slide.
Okay.
And this is our crowdsourcing website at IdeaScale, which is, so we want to solve problems, key problems and challenges at DC Water that keeps us from the long-term impacts. And this is where we have all our campaigns and all our employees have signed up. And if there is any kind of idea that they have, they come and post it on our website here.
You know, every floor in this building where the elevators open up, you'll see photographs, and every photograph is of people, the employees. Okay, it's about the people here. Okay, and that transfers into this landing page here. It's nothing but our employees. Okay, it's meant to be inclusive. Everyone's on here more or less. So, and that's what they see, and that's what they click on. Okay. One more, please. All right. So, oh boy, challenges to overcome. Okay. Now we're shifting a little bit into crowdsourcing. I had to slip a couple of crowdsourcing slides in there. Okay. Okay. All right. Dolly mentioned the generative AI. You know, it's such a fast-moving technology. A year ago, there was a 3.5 version came out, and then in the spring, the 4.0 version came out. There's a 5th version. Google Baird has their version. It's just taken off. It's exploding. It's really disruptive right now, and nobody can keep track of this. Dolly almost, okay, but the senior executives, they can't keep up with this. Okay. So when you start pitching, we should be doing generative AI, they don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay. That's one of the challenges we have. Okay. And rather than try to work it from the top down, okay, we're looking at the middle. Okay. We formed a community of practitioners, as Dolly mentioned, 45 people who volunteered to be part of this community. I did a kind of a brown bag special, is it 5 minutes you said, or 5 more slides? Okay, I'll wrap it up. Okay, all right. So I had, of the 245 wanted to be part of this groundswell here that we had. Okay, so that's kind of like how I was able to figure out how best to tackle this problem and get a group of people who can report up and report down to be able to get some traction. So that's one of the problems we have is that was GTP. The same thing with crowdsourcing. They don't understand what crowdsourcing is at the senior level. They really don't. It's something new for the water sector. Now, where I used to work, different industry, our numbers were really high. People knew what it was, but this is blue collar, really is. All right, next slide, please. All right. So I got like 2 minutes, right there, Lizzie? Okay, all right, we'll keep this. I'll try to keep you on schedule. So these are all the practices that I'm passing on. You probably recognize most of these. I know your experience, but these are the tried and true. This is what I always take a look at, make sure that we're following these practices, starting with an executive sponsor. Okay, it's hard to get things done without having an EVP or a VP behind me. And then everything going all the way down. And when we're crowdsourcing, sometimes we have to go beyond leadership to find that right idea, that question to ask. Okay, and we go to the source, we go to the employees. So, and all the way down. So, next slide. All right, good. Final slide, Lizzie. All right. So, back to crowdsourcing. So, where do I start? Formulate an approach. We underwent the training program with IdeaScale. We learned how to not only set up the campaign, but how to communicate, how to engage with the organization. You just don't launch a campaign. You have to think it through and have a strategy. Okay, so we had a strategy. We communicated it, different channels. Okay. We picked the right problem that we thought would resonate among the employees, okay? Something that mattered to them, okay? We staffed and maintained the challenge. We engaged the conversations. You know, we tried to stimulate and we tried to tag people to get them involved in the communication threads. We made it social. And you know, I'm trying to think. And then we got feedback from people, what they liked. We made it fun. Crowdsourcing I think it's fun. Some of the executives would say that we do surveys every year. Okay, you know the static surveys. You know, how do you like this, and this, and maybe a Likert scale. You know, always, sometimes. It doesn't work. It's not the same as something that's real and dynamic. Okay, I put a question out. I put an idea out there. You three comment on it. You don't agree with it. You tag 2 people over there and they like it. And we're building up ideas. And sometimes you start seeing all the ideas, as you know, and sometimes 2 or 3 ideas trigger another idea. Like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like a super idea and it just snowballs. And so that's been our experience with this. This is a very social way to be able to get people together, sharing ideas and engaging. So, and I said innovation is not easy, but what choice do you have? You can't give up, okay? Change is difficult, okay? Technology is quickly changing at a very fast pace. And, you know, the cost, and I'm not sure if you're for-profit or nonprofit, but time is money, okay? Wasted time is lost opportunity, and it's being efficient too long and paying too much. And so this is it's an ongoing effort. It's a full-time function. It's not a checkbox, not a PowerPoint deck you do once a year. It's a full-fledged function that the organization needs to align within the organization. Okay. I want some good questions, okay? Please. Liz, is that your job? Are you the moderator? Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I will bring the microphone around. If you want to answer questions, I would just pass it between you two.
Okay.
So yes, when you have a question, we have time for probably only 2 at this point, but just say your first name and what company you're coming from today or organization. Any questions? Okay.
Good. Thanks.
Hey, Nick from IdeaScale. You mentioned several times that innovation is not about technology, but you gave a couple examples of technological innovations, the FIDO, the Neuralink predictive analytics. My question is, what skills gaps have you found within the organization to enable those technological innovations to be successful once you chose them?
So restate that. So what skills?
You've got all these technologies that you've added in, but I imagine that the skills of the existing workforce don't exactly align to these technologies using acoustic FIDO detection or neural. So where have the skills gaps been and how have you addressed those?
Yeah, so good question. And thanks for breaking the ice. I appreciate that. That means more questions will come. We had a skeptic group of technicians out in the water. And when we did the leak detection using these little devices to listen, and we had the vendor with us to do a couple of demonstrations, and we began to see the results. So the staff, they got engaged. They were kind of reluctant, kind of like, this sounds too good to be true. They saw the results, and then they did it themselves, and they saw the results again. And then we had some false negatives or false positives, and we understood what went wrong, and we found out that we did it during a real busy time of the day. There was interference. There were jackhammers going off and bells going off and trucks. And so we don't do this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We do it at 2 in the morning, okay? And we can do it automatically as well at 2 in the morning. So doing is believing, okay? And you have to convince others that the problem can be solved. There's a better way of doing it than what we've done in the past. And we've been able to, we can't force it on people. We have to get them involved, engaged, and then the results speak for themselves, okay? And some still don't get it, but most of them do. And there's always going to be some naysayers, but more than likely, we're going to convince people that there's almost always better ways. Okay, good question. Thanks. This is your question, Dolly.
I have a loud voice. I don't technically need a mic, but this helps. I'm Cecil with Question Pro, and I'm very new to this industry. Day 8. But my background is in technology, and I was really encouraged and excited about a lot of your talk was about engagement, like people are your best asset, right? And so my question is, and you mentioned at the very beginning that you're trying to position DC Water and what the problems you're trying to solve is something that's exciting to Gen Z to be a part of the solution. Aside from that, how do you position yourself, or how would you recommend other organizations like this to position themselves as an employer of choice for this upcoming population? If people are our best asset, how do we get the best people into these organizations?
We haven't had a real serious problem with COVID and post-COVID, and people were changing jobs, and it was hard to replace people. We do have the average age. Last time I heard it was around 50 years old. Okay, so it tends to be higher in the utility business than in the other sectors. We have a number of things that we're doing. We have to be able to provide a pipeline of new talent, new people. We have an apprentice program where we look at mostly DC people, because we are a DC company, but serving Maryland and Virginia. But we look at entry level. We look at people who might work in a garage, mechanic or a painter, okay? Or other people just have an interest, and they come in and they're an apprentice. They get paid, they get benefits, but for 2 or 3 years, they're an apprentice, okay? They learn, okay? And they learn by doing and working with others who are experienced. So it's OJT. So that's one way that we're providing entry level for those blue collar jobs, okay? Dolly is here on behalf of about 35 other college interns, a little bit more professional, okay? But engineers, innovators, operation specialists, we're looking, and we hire some of those college interns, Okay, we're looking. By the way, we've got several openings if you're interested on our website. But we also engage. We've got full-time recruiters here. We also have contract recruiters, but we can scale. So, but we're not struggling too much. We have had some turnover, people leaving for more money. We lost a number of AI people to Google. They're sucking up all the AI people, but we're replacing them. We're resilient in that respect, but it's multiple sources or channels, and it's a concerted effort to kind of take a look at what we need, looking at the exit interviews, why they're leaving. Is it money? Is it something else? We have succession planning here, so if I was to leave, I'd have someone take my place. So we have that as well. But that's what we do. So we're always looking at different sources and bringing in people.